everybody, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be showing you how to install the Platform 1 roof rack on your 5th gen 4Runner. All right, let's get started. All right, so step number 1 is going to be assembling the platform. You're going to want to get this done first. Obviously, we're going to get this done, and then we're going to be mounting it on the roof. If you want to know exactly how to assemble the platform, we have an entire video dedicated to assembling the platform. So step number 1, go ahead and get this thing assembled. Step number 2, once you've assembled the rack, what you're gonna wanna go ahead and do is remove the old rack. So in most cases, this will be the OEM rack. However, if you're transitioning from another rack or something like the M rack over to the Platform 1, just keep in mind, you're gonna wanna go ahead and remove this. If you wanna watch an actual video dedicated to moving from the M rack to the Platform 1, we did actually do a video on this truck showcasing some tips and tricks for actually removing the rack and going in and filling up some holes, since we're not gonna be using all of the riv nutted holes, since the Platform 1 is a no drill system on this. So go ahead and remove the old rack, and then from there, we'll move on to step number 3. All right, so once you have the rack assembled and you have the old OEM rack, or like our case, the M rack, removed, the next step is gonna be prepping the roof and getting ready to start mounting the roof rack. So the next step in that process is we're gonna go up there and clean a little bit, just get some spray, Windex, whatever you need up there, simple green, just kind of clean up there, make sure up top is nice and clean. And then what we're gonna go ahead and do is start working on the brackets. So we have a handful of brackets down here. They're all gonna be used a little bit differently. We're also using the conversion kit, the M rack conversion kit. Since we are going from an M rack to the Platform 1, there's a ton of extra holes up here. It's gonna be different depending on what vehicle you're working with. However, with the 4Runner, with the 5th gen 4Runner, we did have to make a total of 3 riv nut holes going down the cab. So we're only actually gonna be utilizing one of those holes. So we have these 2 different kits here. This is what comes with the Platform 1. This is gonna be the bump stop. So this is what's gonna be used on most applications when you don't have any holes already in your roof. This is a bump stop, so this is how we get away with a no drill concept with this bump stop. But since we already have the riv nut in there and it seems to be in decent shape, we went ahead and went ahead and chased it and made sure the threads were good. We're gonna be using the conversion kit, which is basically the same mounting as this. However, all we're doing is actually utilizing the standard hole, so we can just get it drilled or just get it screwed in just like you would with the M rack. We're gonna be utilizing that same style bracket. Just because we have a hole in the roof, we might as well use it. And then for the other holes, we kind of cover this more in our M rack conversion video. However, we just went to the Ace Hardware. We got some small little spacers. We're gonna fill it with RTV and just cap those off and make sure those holes are sealed. The next step is, once you clean that, we're gonna go ahead and start RTVing and laying down our washers and start putting our brackets in. All right, so once you have all of the spacers in, the RTVs in, it's sitting nicely on top in these little holes. You'll notice when you were taking them off, you gotta be a little careful. Actually, they're not secured in any way in place. They're kind of just floating there. If you put too much pressure on one side, you could pop them both out. So it's good to take this part really, really slow. On older vehicles, and if you have a 5th gen that's seen some stuff, you'll notice they're a little bit more finicky. Like if you watched our GX video, that was a whole thing. So just keep in mind while you're doing this, go nice and slow. Don't put too much pressure downward, and I would do it evenly. So as one screws in, you screw the other one in, and you keep going back and forth on this, just to make sure there's always even pressure, because these 2 holes are actually connected by one piece. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and start installing these brackets, and obviously make sure that the L faces outways so you can mount the rack to the outside of this. So we're gonna start making our rounds and installing all these brackets. All right, you put the brackets on, you are ready to actually mount the new platform. So before we get started, we're gonna go ahead and lay some tape down just to make sure we don't scuff anything on this vehicle. We're gonna lay some tape directly in front of this, because the rack's gonna have to settle on that once we first put it up before we can get the first bolts through. So that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna go ahead and put some tape on. so the next step is go ahead and throw the roof rack on the outside of the brackets. Okay, so once you set the roof rack up above the platform already on the roof, now what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna start actually lifting up a little side by side, start fitting our carriage bolts in directly into the brackets, and then start getting those finger tight. Once everything is locked in, then we'll go back and get them a little bit more tight as we start to secure it down. All right, so once you have all the bolts nice and tight, securing the L brackets directly to the side of the platform, next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna basically be sliding it back and forth to make sure it's perfectly centered on the rack or on the roof. You're gonna want someone to basically just stand right here, looking at it and making sure that it is in position. You're gonna wanna look at it from a few different angles. Just make sure everything looks straight from the front to the back. Once everything looks straight, you're gonna go ahead and start securing it down on those main Allen bolts directly into the roof. Get all that taken care of. Once that's done, then we're gonna go ahead and move to the bump stop. If you're using the conversion kit, you're gonna go ahead and just start cinching that down. But for the bump stop users, you're gonna wait until after the rack is positioned and ready to go. And then we'll show you a few tricks there that we did on the Land Cruiser. Same exact process here for using the bump stop with an air shim. All right, so really the final step is going to be installing your Pro 6 or your Titan. All right, so that's how you install the Platform 1 on your 5th Gen 4Runner. If you have any questions about the install or any questions about this platform in particular, feel free to leave some comments down below or reach out to our customer service team. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.